What if heaven and hell aren't distant places, but states of mind we carry within us every day? This video explores how our emotions, mental health, and choices shape inner realities that can feel like paradise or torment. If you've ever questioned life, faith, or the power of the mind, this is a perspective you can't afford to miss. Welcome to Axis of Curiosity, the channel where we explore life's deepest questions and challenge traditional ways of thinking. Here, we dive into topics that connect psychology, spirituality, and modern culture to uncover truths that shape our everyday lives. If you're someone who loves questioning, learning, and seeing the world from new angles, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others because curiosity grows stronger when we explore together. Many people in today's America are beginning to question whether heaven and hell are places we travel to after death, or states of being we experience within ourselves. Psychologists often point out that the human mind has the power to create realities as vivid as any external world. Carl Jung, for example, suggested that what religions describe as paradise or torment may actually reflect deep patterns of the psyche. In a culture where stress, anxiety, and depression have become common struggles, the idea of hell as an inner state resonates strongly. At the same time, moments of peace, joy, and authentic connection feel very much like glimpses of heaven on earth. Religious traditions have long used imagery of fire and light, punishment and reward, to describe these conditions. Yet modern thinkers argue these metaphors can be understood as psychological truths. Instead of viewing the afterlife only as a distant promise or threat, many now see it as a mirror of our inner health, shaped by the choices and consciousness we cultivate each day. The human mind has the remarkable capacity to create both liberation and suffering, often at the same time. Neuroscientists in the United States highlight how thought patterns and chemical imbalances can trap individuals in cycles of fear, guilt, and despair that feel very much like a personal hell. Conversely, the same mind, when nurtured through gratitude, mindfulness, or healthy relationships, can open into experiences of lightness and fulfillment that resemble heaven. American society often reflects this duality. One person may be surrounded by material success yet live in inner torment, while another with modest means radiates peace and contentment. Religious voices sometimes frame this contrast as the struggle between sin and grace, while therapists describe it as cognitive distortions versus mental clarity. Both perspectives point to the same truth: heaven and hell may not be distant destinations but psychological landscapes we enter daily. In recognizing this, people are empowered to take responsibility for their inner world, choosing practices that align their minds with peace rather than fear. Emotions play a central role in shaping whether our inner life feels like paradise or a prison. Psychologists often describe emotions as the weather of the soul, constantly shifting yet profoundly influencing how we experience reality. In the American context, where conversations about mental health are increasingly open, people recognize how anger, resentment, and unresolved grief can lock a person into cycles of suffering that resemble hell itself. On the other hand, emotions like compassion, forgiveness, and love create states of ease and belonging that many describe as heavenly. Religious metaphors of fire and light can be seen as symbolic of these emotional extremes, burning in rage or shining with joy. Modern therapists emphasize that while we cannot always control what emotions arise, we can learn healthier ways to process them, transforming even pain into growth. In this sense, our emotions are not just fleeting feelings. They are architects of the world we live in, capable of turning the mind into a sanctuary or a cage. When discussing the idea of hell as a psychological state, mental health and trauma become central to the conversation. In modern America, millions struggle with PTSD, anxiety, and depression, conditions that can make everyday life feel like an unbearable prison. Psychologists explain that trauma reshapes the brain, trapping individuals in cycles of fear and hypervigilance. Much like the eternal torment once described in religious texts, survivors often speak of nightmares, flashbacks, and a constant sense of danger, experiences that echo the imagery of fire, darkness, and punishment. Religious traditions may frame such suffering as spiritual trials, while mental health professionals highlight the importance of therapy, community support, and medical treatment. Both perspectives, however, affirm the human need for healing and compassion. By understanding trauma not as a personal weakness but as a wound of the soul, society can move toward breaking the silence around mental illness. In doing so, people are offered a path out of their private hells and into a more hopeful and supportive reality. Joy and love have the power to transform ordinary life into something that feels deeply sacred, almost like touching heaven within. Psychologists often note that positive throughout history, religion and culture have relied on powerful metaphors of reward and punishment to guide human behavior. In the American context, sermons about heaven and hell have often shaped moral choices, family values, and even public policy. Yet many scholars argue that these images of eternal bliss or torment can also be understood as reflections of human psychology rather than literal destinations. When a person feels the peace of forgiveness, they may describe it as stepping into light. When consumed by guilt or shame, they speak of fire or darkness. These symbolic languages transcend cultures, showing up in Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and even in secular philosophies. Modern psychologists suggest that such metaphors function as teaching tools, giving shape to inner realities that are otherwise hard to express. In a society increasingly questioning traditional faith while still searching for meaning, these stories of reward and punishment can be reinterpreted not as threats, but as mirrors of the choices and states of mind we create in daily life. Emotions are not just fleeting pleasures but states that rewire the brain, strengthening resilience and well-being. In American society, where loneliness and isolation are growing concerns, moments of authentic connection, whether in family, friendship, or community, can feel like a doorway to paradise. Religious voices often describe heaven as eternal union with divine love, and modern thinkers see a parallel in the profound fulfillment that comes from empathy, generosity, and belonging. Studies in neuroscience show that acts of kindness release chemicals like oxytocin and dopamine, literally giving the brain a taste of peace and harmony. These experiences remind us that heaven may not be only a promise of the future, but a reality we can nurture here and now. By cultivating joy and love, individuals create inner landscapes that mirror the very essence of spiritual bliss. Finding freedom in the modern world often comes down to choosing peace over fear. In American society, where stress and uncertainty dominate much of daily life, people are discovering that freedom is not only political or material but deeply psychological. Fear can enslave the mind, keeping individuals trapped in cycles of anger, anxiety, or self-doubt, while peace opens a doorway to clarity, compassion, and resilience. Spiritual teachers and psychologists alike emphasize that this choice is within reach for everyone. Through mindfulness, community support, or simply practicing gratitude, we can step away from inner chaos and create a more balanced life. By reframing heaven and hell as states of mind, we are reminded that the greatest power we hold is the ability to cultivate our own inner landscape. Thank you for watching this video and reflecting with us on such an important question. If you found value in this discussion, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who might benefit. Together, we can keep exploring life's deepest questions with wisdom and curiosity.